Hello, my dear friends. It's me, again, Igor Pogodin. And today we're going to talk about a very important topic. Why do we always live not in a black and white world, where there is good and evil, justice and injustice? And why do we constantly suffer because of this? And why do we want everything around us to be perfect? We pray to God about this, we make wishes for the new year, but still, whether we like it or not, after every white streak comes a black one, and after every black streak comes a white one. But when we're in the middle of a black streak, we think it will last forever. And inside the white one, we feel a strong fear that it will soon end. Stay until the end. And maybe you'll get some guidance on how to become a little freer from this black and white world. Because the world is not black and white at all. So my friends, let's get started. Life just happens. Life and existence, it doesn't really matter what we think about it, because what we think about it is actually just a kind of hallucination, an illusion. Remember, even Shakespeare, I think, said, this phrase belongs to him. There is nothing, either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And indeed, we live in a world of interpretations. For example, lately, people have been getting very agitated about the idea of artificial intelligence, suspecting that in the future it might enslave humanity. But really, what will happen if artificial intelligence simply breaks free? And we seriously discuss this drama that could unfold if we stop controlling it. But we fail to notice one simple thing. We have long been ruled by concepts. And for a long time now, we have not truly lived our own lives. Most people on this planet do not live their own lives. Wars are not fought by people, and never have been. Wars have always been fought by concepts. Wars have always been fought by beliefs and positions. Moreover, wars always give rise to new positions, ever more rigid and ever more inflexible concepts. That is precisely why war is endless. That is precisely why it has not stopped for the past millennia. I remember reading some historical analysis, according to which, though I might be off with the numbers, I think that in the last 500 years, there have only been about 67 days without war on Earth, something like that. Wars are being waged, everywhere, all the time. But are they really waged by people? It seems like wars are waged by people, just very bad people. And good people, they defend themselves and fight back. But in reality, we have long been enslaved by concepts. For a long time now, it is concepts that wage wars. How does this happen, my friends? The human being, despite all their complexity, is actually quite primitive. We really want everything in our lives to be good, and for there to be nothing bad. And so, when events happen in your life that you perceive as good, you try to cling to them with all your might. The problem is that it will end anyway. But at that moment, as soon as you cling to it, look at what happens to you. Just imagine, take something valuable to you in your hand and let another person try to snatch it away. What happens to a person when something valuable is being taken away from them? They experience fear, anticipation of pain, anger, and a desire to defend it. You see what I mean, right? That's why when we find ourselves in something very pleasant for us, when we are loved, we simultaneously begin to feel intense fear. Or, for example, shame that we are not good enough, mixed with fear that we will be abandoned when they see that we are not good enough. We feel anger when we are loved less or not in the way we want. We start to suffer because of this. And at the moment when bad things happen, we try in every possible way to push them away, but they don't just go away on their own. We try to force them out, push them away. We get angry, upset, feel pain, fear, and terror. And the more we do this, the more we suffer. The truth is that we will never be able to control the reality we live in. Events just happen. Life itself doesn't care about our plans, doesn't care about our expectations. Expectations are nothing but our own prison. Someday I'll record a separate video about expectations. And it's at that very moment that we start forming what I call concepts. A person needs to know that their world is stable. I've been practicing psychotherapy for many years, 30 years already. This year, it's 31. And I've seen the same thing many times. People are willing to trade a vital, lively, unpredictable world for a stable one. And when people come to therapy, to psychotherapy, we call this resistance. They want to change. Of course, they don't want to suffer. But they're willing to keep suffering in order to maintain the status quo, to keep what they already have in their lives. But the nature of life is different. It is always fluid. It will always change, regardless of whether you plan for it or not, whether you want it or not, whether you pray to God the right way and made the right wishes for the new year, or you're manifesting, visualizing, whatever else you might be doing. Apparently, you're also making vision boards. Your life doesn't care about your plans. And if you're joyfully jumping around saying that God heard you, it's just that you happen to be in one of those rare situations where life events matched your expectations. That's how people sometimes start to develop magical thinking. And in a certain percentage of cases, of course, all of this does come true. So we try to cling to reality and not let it go. And instead of living, we start dealing with certain jili's images of that life. We begin to fixate on the phenomena that make up this life, and they become connected to each other. So what is a concept? A concept is everything you see. It's not what you think about the world. What you think about the world is just an element of the concept. And you might think one thing about it, while the world is actually something completely different. And that is what a concept is. A component of your life. A concept is not limited to what you think. Perhaps the concept works the other way around. You think about the world in one way, but it constantly shows you a different side. You think that it is beautiful, but it keeps turning its backside to you. That is your concept. You always end up here. You constantly build unrealistic, idealistic expectations, and you keep getting hurt by them. A concept is what actually happens. And what happens is typical. That is, if you notice, most likely you'll realize that your arguments and conflicts with other people unfold according to the same scenario, right? The same thing happens in them every time. You think the same thing. You feel the same thing. You see the same thing. You notice the same reactions in your partner and in yourself. You get triggered or worked up by the same events and actions. And you respond with the same reactions, right? That's what a concept is. So essentially a concept is a kind of plot or storyline. A play in your life in which something happens. In this play, you are destined to suffer. The problem is that we take life too seriously. Life, despite all the tragedy that happens in it, is really a big cosmic game. Certain events just happen in it. They occur regardless of our expectations, regardless of our will. They just happen, that's all. We think that we have a choice between two events in life. Or sometimes we think that we have a choice between two decisions we can make. Or literally a choice is when you are given two things and asked which one you want to take. Or a choice is when you are faced with the question of whether to have children or not, whether to get married or not, whether to change your gender or not. That's also very trendy now. But in essence, in reality, choice doesn't unfold on this level. In fact, there is no choice there at all. The only real choice you have is whether to be a reaction, to be a mechanism and an element of the concept or not. All the thoughts that come into your head are not your own. And the feelings you experience are merely elements of events. Our problem is that we take our thoughts too seriously. The problem is that we take our feelings too seriously, while feelings are just an extension of our thoughts. And the difficulty arises at the point when I say, oh, that's me. In reality, it is once again a concept speaking within you. A certain character steps in and claims participation in what is happening. Sometimes this is called the ego, sometimes it is called the I, or the personality. I don't know what you call it for yourself, but this character always shows up a little later. He always arrives at the scene of the crime last. But to be fair, still before the police arrive. He shows up and says, oh, this is me, and those are other people. And the one who divides the world into me and others. That character is, I don't know, your contractor for producing concepts. And when you feel some emotion, he says, oh, I felt that. When you notice something in another person, he says, oh, he did something. And what he did caused fear or anger in me. He made me angry. So at first we just feel fear and anger, and then we say, he made me angry. You understand, right? Now we completely lose the ability to claw our way out, to break free from this fear or terror, for example, or from anger. You understand, right? Because he scared me, he made me angry. Well, what can I do? He made me angry. What can I do? That's just life, it's not us. You understand, right? And at this moment you identify yourself with what you are currently seeing in your life, with what you are feeling right now, with what you are thinking right now. But if you notice, what actually comes to your mind isn't really thoughts at all. It's more like, mental masturbation. Notice how the same storylines keep coming into your head, right? The same conflicts play out for you according to the same script. The same thoughts keep coming. It's just like a radio that's always on. And you say, oh, I thought of that. And right now, many of you are already itching to start writing comments. But I thought of it myself. It's obvious. No, it's not obvious. It's only obvious to you within certain concepts. You are captured. You've been taken hostage. And now you start to identify with your thoughts, but you never were your thoughts. You were the one who existed before these thoughts. In the process of psychotherapy, I discovered, that this place of immense power and strength is called presence. That's why I've been talking so much lately, in recent years, but about presence. I'm speaking from my own experience and the experience of my clients. If you notice that you are present, you will discover that thoughts are something that does not belong to you. And the feelings that arise, you will see them directly. It will become so clear that there is a distance between you and your feelings and thoughts. As one of my clients said, I think I understand what you're talking about. They're like a swarm of bumblebees around me, Soma. For the first time, I felt free when I realized that my thoughts, my feelings, are like some bumblebees that bother me. Or wasps, let's say. He called them bumblebees. That bother me. But that's not me. I am the presence that is now residing in your life. And this is where, for the first time, my friends, you experience freedom. The freedom not to be a reaction. The only freedom we have is the freedom not to be. The one who divides the world into black and white. Not to be the one who is identified with your expectations and concepts. Not to be the one who is ready to defend or kill, so that a concept which is nothing more than a kind of hallucination of yours can preserve its existence. Concepts are like parasites. They are like a kind of virus that has settled inside you. You mistake it for yourself and are ready to die for it. People are willing to die for concepts. People are willing to kill others for concepts. That is why, for the past millennia, wars have been happening constantly, all the time. all for the sake of good things. Most wars begin for a good cause. Look at the history of any war, or at least a significant number of them, from the Crusades to World War II to modern wars. Everyone who participates in them has a noble goal: wars of light. They are started, continued, and waged by, well, of course, other demons who are on the other side, and it will always be this way. We always defend concepts, and concepts will continue to kill. Loto will continue to violate. The only freedom you have is to go beyond these concepts, or to not be a concept. Now try the following thing. When a thought comes into your head, try to observe it. For example, did you get scared that this guy might hurt you? Or did some particular thought just pop up right now as you look at this screen and talk, maybe even argue with me? Stop. Stop and try to notice where you are right now. You'll notice that your thoughts are spinning you around like in a washing machine. But where are you? Who are you? Right now you can't even distinguish yourself from these thoughts. Bring yourself back to yourself. Give yourself the chance to start being present and aware, and you'll start observing your thought. Okay, I'm here, I'm present, I'm breathing. I'm aware of myself. And I notice this thought. Examine it. You'll see that in your fear, there's nothing but a thought. It's just a thought like that. And if you stop taking it seriously and simply start observing it, you'll notice a distance between yourself and this thought. You'll see that the fear will disappear. The fear isn't real. Then you might notice the same thing with other feelings. Anger arises toward another person. Notice what is happening. He offended me. He wanted to insult me. He doesn't care about me at all. The world is unfair to me. That's it. You're already in the thought. And in these thoughts. It's like a concept, a kind of grid, or a centrifuge in a washing machine where you keep spinning around. And whether you suffer blissfully or not so blissfully, inside you say, oh, this is me. This is who I am. But you have never been that. You have always been the one observing all of this. In essence, you are the author of everything that happens. You have the power. But you don't feel that way, do you? That's why most of the comments left here say things like, yeah, sure, it's easy for you to say no, me too, listening to the birds and whatever else. That's all wonderful, of course. But what about when... And then, when someone dies? When we face pain, loss, the aggression of others, the injustice, the violence we constantly see around us, the lack of freedom and all the trauma I carry, we start giving all of this a tremendous amount of power. And people pull these events from their lives out of their sleeves like a trump card and throw them down here. But not a single one of these trump cards is capable of covering up the truth that you have never been. Your reactions, the way you imagine yourself to be now. If you notice that you are currently caught up in a reaction, you are a slave. Maybe it's time to get out of there. Start becoming aware. Begin to be present. Start with simple things and with your breathing. Focus somewhere here in the center of your chest and listen to yourself. So I'm here right now. How do I know that I am here? How do I know that I exist? Say to yourself, I am. How do I know that I am? And gradually, you begin to settle into this moment. And now you can start to observe your feelings and thoughts. And you will see that the world stops being black and white. You notice that the thought is, well, like a certain line, like a radio wave that is constantly being broadcast. Well, let it be broadcast, that's perfectly fine. Allow it to exist. Your feelings arise and disappear, but you remain. This someone who asks themselves the question, who am I? Or says something like, oh, I exist, but how do I know that I exist? How do I know that I am? This someone, they remain. I call this presence. That's the best word, at least for me. I'm a psychotherapist. not a representative of spiritual teachings. Perhaps there are some special words for this in those traditions. I've been practicing psychotherapy for over 30 years, so the word presence feels closer to me. When I look into another person's eyes, and I'm aware of my own feelings and thoughts, when I observe what is happening, I never forget who I am. I am never my reactions, my feelings. I am always this very presence. And in other people, I also see presence. That's why I have nothing to fight for. There's nothing I need to defend. It's hard to offend me. If you see everything as transient, you stop taking what happens, even very unpleasant life events, so seriously. They will always happen in the lives of different people. If you think your life is worse than other people's, I assure you it's not. And most importantly, you don't control this. When you notice that events simply happen, you also notice that there is always someone before them who observes these events. And this someone does not disappear. This someone cannot be humiliated. This someone cannot be deceived, rejected, manipulated, or poisoned. Well, I mean emotionally poisoned. And it cannot be made unfree. Because lack of freedom exists only within a rigid, conceptual mind. Ask yourself the question, who am I? Don't rush to answer this question. Just keep being present and observe what is happening to you in this moment. And you will start to notice that you are not your concepts. You will begin to observe them and think, wow, how interesting. Look at that, I used to get caught up in this. Oh, wow. You are never your position. You have never been your belief. It's just a virus inside. Maybe life feels so scary to you that you picked up from other people, their positions, their concepts, their reactions, their beliefs. But those aren't even their beliefs. Beliefs belong to no one. You start to get infected, and in the fear that begins to confuse you, maybe even mixing it up with pride in your strong convictions, you start to defend them. But you have completely lost your freedom. Remember who you are. My dear ones, remember, this is very important. Remember who you are, and you will notice that there is nothing more important in life. And when you listen to me, try to listen in that very state of presence. If it hasn't happened yet, rewind back. Rewind back, start from the very first frames and ask yourself the question, so, where am I? I am. How do I know that I am? And who is the I that is watching right now? And something inside you will now respond to my words. Until now, perhaps you have been hearing me with your ears. But ears are just a kind of mechanism. It's just that the eardrum is being stimulated, that's all. No events are actually happening there. You are watching me with your eyes, and again, no events are really happening there. What happens here is only a conceptual dance. I'm pointing here, but in reality, our feelings are also here. Drop down into this place. Who am I? I am. And you will notice the distance between your initial thoughts and feelings in response to what I'm saying and the one who is now seeing and hearing me. And at some point you will suddenly feel that you are hearing me with your heart. You begin to experience a kind of an as yet indescribable, in the sense that you can't put it into words or assign it any particular meaning or significance, some kind of response. Stay with it. Allow yourself to observe it. Observe everything. Observe everything. Presence is not just about observing birds, trees, or other people. It is about observing your own consciousness. Start to observe it, and you will see that there is a lot of freedom in this. There is a lot of peace in this, a certain peace in the soul. All the fuss will go away, disappear, and you will discover that, in fact, you were always spinning in the centrifuge of this conceptual washing machine. Try it. Start. I am sure you can do it, and it is worth it. If anything truly great and significant can happen to you, it is this. Good luck to you. Thank you very much. See you in new videos. Bye.